Dutch people, e-commerce, ancestral memories, and the subconscious mind. What do all of these things have in common, you might be asking? Well, you've tuned in to the right video. My name is Sarthak, and without further ado, let's get straight into the content. So, the other day I was scrolling Twitter, and if you are a regular on my channel, you already know that I love Twitter. And I saw this tweet that said that Dutch bros, Dutch brothers over here, they be running e-commerce. I thought that was interesting. I mean, I've never really thought about it, not ever noticed it. And I looked at the comments, and to my very interesting surprise, a lot of people had concurred with this acknowledgement and had in fact agreed that Dutch people do in fact run e-commerce. A lot of people that I follow and trust. And so this got me thinking a little bit. It got me thinking about certain patterns that exist within, perhaps people's ancestral memories, and if those are those are somehow leading to success, right? For example, I mean, if you're familiar with your history, you do know that the Dutch people are essentially the people who invented the first MNC. They are the original, colonizers to an extent, shipbuilders and traders, right? The Dutch people had the first stock market as well as the first, they started the Dutch East India Company. Please don't hate me if I'm messing up on my facts here, but nonetheless, right? The thing is that the Dutch invented this, and while the British were the ones to scale it out, the Dutch are the innovators here. And what is e-commerce but just the modern day version of this very old business model of international trade and being some sort of a middleman and, bringing goods from one place, selling them in another place. I mean, back then maybe it was slaves. Today it's more like supplements and, I don't know, something goofy. Nonetheless, they're money printers, right? But it's interesting. Why is it that the Dutch people are dominating this trade even in today's modern day, when it's been hundreds of years since the last time that they were dominating such a field, even though they're perhaps the ones that pioneered the MNC aspect of it, at least. I mean, I'm sure international trade existed in the past as well, but they're the ones who really codified it and created a large network of organized trade, you could say. Perhaps in the past, I mean, again, don't check up on my history here. I mean, but I'm assuming in the past there was more individual merchants with individual ships, and I believe that it's the Dutch that consolidated and created one whole company. Nonetheless, without getting distracted, it got me thinking about ancestral memories, and is it because of these people's history as traders and just their overall genetics? Is that why they are so good at e-commerce? Are they just more inclined? Do they just have some entrepreneurial genetic gene within them, some pattern which over generations has allowed them to arbitrage international trade? And then I noticed something, I thought about something, and there's a very similar pattern that exists within Indian communities as well. So in India, we have a Marwadi community. They're a community of traders that originated in the state of Rajasthan, and they've spread across India. I've moved around India in a few states now, and you find Marwadis everywhere, right? They are often dominating business, and they're quite amazing, shrewd businessmen. They're quite good at what they do, amazing in negotiations, and without a doubt, talented. And, it's quite accepted that, yeah, if you're Marwadi, you're just going to be good at business. Everyone knows it. And, that they take pride in that, which I don't blame them for. But got me thinking, like, why does this similar pattern exist? And I looked within India. I saw this Marwadi business people having their thing. And then, certain other communities being good at academics and certain communities being good at art. It's something that you see often. Why is that? Why is it that certain communities over times, optimize for certain things? Is it because of genetics, or is it something else? You see this even on an international scale. The Germans are known for their engineering prowess. The Japanese, perhaps, for their, optimized manufacturing processes and societal cohesion, right? Every single, subgroup has some sort of stereotype associated with them that they're good at. And oftentimes this is, left up to genetics, but I believe there's something else at play here. And without being funny, I mean, it is the subconscious mind. I know everything. I make everything about the subconscious mind, but uh, I think there's real value here. The thing is, if you're raised around people essentially telling you from a young age that, yeah, you're gonna be, so for example, in the example of the Marwari community, they're often raised, I mean, I have a lot of friends who belong to this community, and they tell me that they've been raised from a young age, and you can see it from the things that they say. Well, I'm Marwari, so I have to be good at math, I have to be good at accounting, it's just something I have to be. I mean, that's just an expectation of their community. It's, yeah, and some of my friends even admit to me I'm not that good at it, but I have to be. And you know what that leads to? Over time, they become good at it because that's simply what they believe is their destiny, right? And over time, firstly being exposed to this for in their environment, and then also believing that they have to be this way, it creates this nice combination which combined together leads them to that manifested ideal that they're working towards, or not essentially working towards, but that they've envisioned for themselves at a very subconscious level, without even any choice, you could say. And it's interesting that this happens, but there's also the other side of this, right? And you often see this in people from communities that are less privileged, right? So in less privileged communities, the opposite thing happens where, you're expected that, yeah, money's just not something for us, and then you just don't go for money because it's just not something that's been part of your family's history. And or you're, yeah, we're just not athletic. I mean, that's something that you hear often in other communities. I don't know, we're not athletic, we're just not meant to be this, we're just not meant to be artists, for example, within a large majority of the Indian diaspora, I could say. Not the actual Indians within India, but in the Indians that move abroad, there's a common, commonality within the culture that many people are just not artists, because it's often hasn't been the artists that have immigrated, it's been businessmen and engineers and scientists. But so that there's a large bias here that people believe that we're just not meant to be artists, right? And I mean, I'm sure that that's not true with everyone, but just like every other stereotype I've listed here, there's exceptions. But it is something that permeates the group's conscience, right? And this manifests itself because due to this, how many people do you see from Indian backgrounds in very artistic fields in the diaspora? Probably a little bit, but you see a lot more engineers and you see a lot more doctors, and that is precisely because of this subconscious programming. And it's interesting because this is all within your control. And some people are blessed with the correct community to be born into the correct family, where they're just without even trying, without even their parents being aware of what they're doing most of the time, their children get programmed into being a certain way, and which is optimized for, well, a certain archetype. Let's even take the example of these businessmen archetypes. I'm not sure how the Dutch culture works. I just saw this tweet, but maybe they have something that leads them towards being amazing at ecom. But the interesting thing essentially is that while yes, some of these are optimized for material gain, they might not be optimized for happiness. Because at the end of the day, each individual, no matter what community you're born into, you want to do your own thing. There might be some Marwari businessman or some Dutch guy who just wants to be an artist. And, he is being groomed to be this amazing businessman from a young age at a subconscious level by his family and his friends and his community. But what this leads to is, even a greater trap than the person from an underprivileged background faced. Because the thing is, when you're from an underprivileged background, the the world is your oyster. You get to choose which direction to go because there's no going lower than where you already are. But I mean, not to minimize the struggle that they go through, obviously, but when you're born into a more privileged position, perhaps a business family, you are a lot more trapped and you lose the most basic of human freedoms, which is the choice to determine your destiny. If you are just born and you already know you're going to run a business, Can you ever explore the art you could have potentially made, the art that could have changed millions of people's hearts, created some movement with a true tangible effect on the world, which is not just added numbers in your bank account? These are the types of things that often we miss on the opposite end of the spectrum. And so it is vital, no matter where you are, no matter if you've been fed positive, positive quote unquote subconscious programming that might lead to more material wealth, or negative subconscious programming that might lead you to obviously struggle. The choice is yours to, at the end of the day, determine what kind of archetype you want to build yourself into. Right? You might be getting groomed to becoming some sort of businessman or an engineer. And while those are amazing places to go, those are amazing things, it might not be you. And this was very true for me. I was being groomed from a very young age to become a engineer myself. Right, my dad's a amazing engineer and quite smart, quite technically advanced with his knowledge, and because of the this exposure that I had, in my childhood, so I used to live in Washington State, and there's a lot of Indians, and a lot of the Indians work in Microsoft, Google, or Amazon, right? So there's a stereotype that permeates the entire society that, oh, every Indian person's just a nice, smart engineer guy, and so even though in my childhood I was quite rebellious. Rebellious by Indian standards, at least you could say. I used to have a lot more fun, not just study all the time, and not just. I used to go hang out with the boys. That was my priority in life. Let's be honest here. And I used to play video games, watch anime. I was just doing just fun stuff. I loved it, and I'm glad I did that. But and the thing is that people around me just always assumed I was smart, though. And yeah, well, I did definitely put in effort and was but I had such a pressure put on me at a very young age to study that it set me up for a good trajectory. But even in high school, when I had really gotten into partying and stuff, I still maintained a pretty above average level of academic performance, and a lot of that definitely had to do with just the expectations the society had of me. It's just expected of you to be smart, and when that's expected of you, it's just a lot easier to align yourself with those energies and align yourself with the things that'll get you there, because that is what's being fed into your mind. On the contrary, I did struggle a lot with athletics, because there was also the stereotype that Indians are not that good at sports and Indians are not that good looking and everything. So I struggled with girls for some time too. But because that was so, yeah, funnily enough, because the girls part was so important to me in high school, I was able to reprogram my subconscious over there. In fact, that might even be the be the root of how I first, learned that I could change my reality, is because I needed to change my reality to get the girls I wanted, right? Funny how that works. But anyways, yeah, so that's interesting, right? I can't get girls, I can't, I'm not sporty and everything. So all throughout high school, I was quite unathletic. But until senior year, where I really started working out and everything, and then now I'm pretty decent fitness wise. But that's the thing, the expectations that society have had of me manifested themselves into me, as above so below. The greater conscience, you know condensed some sort of energy, and because I trusted in the greater conscience, instead of trying to leave the energetic bubble that's trying to magnetize me into itself and trying to create my own path, because that's the thing. It's a much stronger energetic field, the greater conscience. And if you're orbiting it, perhaps you could say. And if you're like a node, and it's like a graph, right? It's some sort of graph with a bunch of factors, and depending on where on the axis, like, it might be like a six-dimensional graph. I hope that makes sense. And wherever you lie within, wherever your coordinates are, determine your personality, right? That's what you could say. And the greater conscience is energetic bubbles. You're orbiting it. But if you want to move yourself on the coordinates and define your personality in a different way, it's very difficult because of this large energetic pull, and you really have to consistently keep pushing until this inches, the greater conscience's bubble inches alongside with you, until it accepts your new identity and helps you manifest it into your own reality. And for that, you need strong self-determination, belief in programming yourself the correct way. And It's very much possible. I've done it myself. I am now, I was getting groomed to be a engineer guy, and now I'm doing pretty good in business. And never would have thought my own parents would have never thought that. I was when I chose my path of pursuing my business degree, and just pursuing this path of entrepreneurship. I mean, my parents did not believe in me, but every day I get closer, and at this point, my dad is ready to invest into me, and everyone believes in me, and that's only because I had enough determination and I kept fighting against the greater conscience's logic. It disguises itself as logic. It tries to tell you that you know that's just not, I mean, that's not who we are. Like, we're just not businessmen. You just can't do that. It's just not within who you are meant to be. But you just have to keep fighting that, even though you might be unsure. I myself was unsure for a long time if I'm walking the correct path. I knew where I wanted to go, and it was that simple knowing of what I wanted, the illogical desire for what I wanted, that has propelled me towards this illogical destiny that I am getting closer to every day, right? And so I implore you, ladies and gentlemen, to look within yourselves and firstly determine what archetype you want to embody. Do you want to be a lover, an artist, a businessman, an engineer, a scientist? Determine, look at it, contemplate, meditate, figure out what is the reality you want to manifest, and accordingly make the changes in your life. Because start programming yourself. You have to look at this end vision that you want, and there's to manifest it into reality, you have to combine not only the final vision, but you have to infuse it with emotion, right? Because logic does not get you the desired result. Logic is a fallacy. Logic is what has limited many, many, many intelligent men from achieving their highest potential. Why is it that so many rich people, if you're an intellectual, you've perhaps contemplated on this throughout your entire life. Why is it that so many rich people are so dumb? And that you're so smart, you're so intellectual, you're such an amazing smart scientist guy, but you're earning so little. Why is that? It's because it's not logic and it's not intellectual thought that gets you further. It's irrational confidence and bravery and courage, right? Look at any entrepreneurial story, and it's simple. It's simple irrationality over and over again. You fail business, you keep trying. For example, with Elon Musk, he struggled quite a lot while building Tesla and SpaceX. And it was one heck of a journey. And at one point, he had to choose between both the companies. Both of them very highly improbable to survive. No one had ever done a private electric car enterprise or a private space enterprise that had actually survived, right? And so that they're both very iffy business models. They're not some established business models like the ones that exist in the online business ecosystem, such as copywriting, which there's many use cases of it already being a successful business model, right? But with these two business models, no one had ever done it before. So they're already so hard to do, so many regulations, so many things to deal with, and they're already, the probability of them both succeeding is quite low. And at one point, he didn't have enough funding, and people were telling him he has to choose one. But he, through his pure irrationality, chose to split his money between the both of them because they were like his babies. And while that was probably one of the, logically, one of the dumbest decisions. I mean, logically, you should just choose one of the things. At least it'll increase the probability of that one thing surviving. So, I mean, come on, Elon, what are you doing, right? But he was irrational, and that is why he's changing the world today. It is the irrational man who the world conforms himself, who the world conforms around. It is not the rational man who stays within the boundaries. What does it mean to think outside the box? It means to truly go outside societal boundaries and make society adjusted to yourself. That is where all change throughout history has happened. And so, I mean, yeah, I got distracted there. But basically, you have to reprogram yourself. You have to understand where your thoughts are leading you, and yeah, pretty much figure out the inputs going into your mind every single day. Look at your desired final reality that you want to get to, final archetype that you want to embody, and affirm this into your existence every day. Your beliefs will lead to your actions. Your actions will lead to your results, and your results will reinforce your beliefs. So within this cycle, you have to catch yourself in your belief stage, right? And when you catch yourself in your belief stage, you have to reprogram your beliefs to, go into your mind, tinker around, reprogram your beliefs, take action according to those beliefs. That is the most important part. People will, mess around all day, like looking into a mirror saying, I'm a billionaire, I am a billionaire, but then they don't take any action. Instead, say something like, I am a businessman and I'm going to start my own marketing agency and my own e-commerce store. And I guess look in the mirror if you want to, but say that and then take action on it, and then you'll probably start you'll sign up for Shopify or something. You'll research your first product, and then the next day when you again affirm this to yourself, you know that you've already gotten a little bit closer, and so this emotion of happiness gets infused within these things that you're affirming into your reality. You're affirming, yeah, I'm an e-commerce guy, I'm going to start this e-commerce store, and now you're a little bit happier, and that creates a snowball effect which motivates you. That is the true motivation comes from. That is where you're gonna start snowballing towards your end result. And in much the same way, if you look in the mirror and say, I'm an e-commerce guy, but then all you did yesterday was like game, and then like play some video games, and then eat junk food, and then you did nothing pretty much, and you're just gonna get sad and upset. So the emotion part of it is quite important too, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be creating a guide regarding this, and regarding how to manifest your reality and reprogram your subconscious mind. And you'll find that in the link down below. Please feel free to, it'll be free. Please feel free to sign up for it, take it, and give me any feedback regarding what you think about the resource. But yeah, thank you for joining. Hope this conversation was useful for you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Peace out.